Welcome to the Livestream at First Unitarian Wilmington podcast. Here we will share some sermons, talks, interviews, or conversations we call life journeys, and also occasionally music. I'm Reverend Larry Peeers, minister at First Unitarian Church of Wilmington, Delaware. If you enjoy what we are offering, please share it with a friend. Our purpose is to spark conversations and to share what we value as a Unitarian Universalist congregation with a wider community. To find out more about us, please visit our website, firstuuwilm.org. And now, welcome to this episode of Livestream at First Unitarian.
So glad that Keri's going to join me today. I told her this morning, gosh, it was so great to know that I didn't have to hold this whole space alone this morning, that she would be there with me. As you know, our topic is life as improvisation. So a friend of mine, a clergy person, said this week that she had been talking to a friend of hers who said to her, "My shoulders and neck are so tight. It's like my head is too heavy to hold up." My friend Cameron instantly recognized that she too had been feeling the same thing, and she wrote, "My shoulders are like stone. My back is aching. Now I could see why. My body, like hers, was carrying the weight of the world. Maybe yours is too." Maybe yours is too? Yeah. Perhaps all of us are holding a tension, each in our own way, about what is happening in our world. The suffering of people we care about and those we don't even know. The apparent unraveling of decency and democracy. The careless disregard of our fragile and sacred earth, and the apparent mean-spiritedness emanating from our current government that seems to belie many of our cherished values of generosity and care for the common good. What is more, the increased capitulations we are observing in universities and law firms, media organizations, it makes us wonder, no, it makes us fear. Where is all of this heading, right? Indeed, we are all carrying a bit of the weight of the world. Today, we want to invite you individually and all of us collectively into a different way to hold whatever is happening in our lives or in our world. We want to invite you to tap into some of the resources that can broaden our repertoire of responses, stimulate our resiliency, and strengthen our resolve to create an island of sanity and to show up boldly and forthrightly in this world. So I had a taste of some of that just yesterday. I went to a demonstration to save our democracy in Philadelphia, and this young woman held up a big poster over her head with an arrow at the bottom of the poster pointing down to her face. And I'm just reporting, the sign read in large letters, "This is my resisting bitch face." I couldn't help laugh. You couldn't either, right? In the midst of the seriousness of what we were witnessing in our world, what we are witnessing in our world, I welcomed that levity, that playfulness, and yet that boldness that was captured in her sign. I believe what Keri and I want to help us recognize today is that within us is a deep source of spontaneity, of play and improvisation that contains a wisdom of its own. And I would add, that can heal us. No matter how heavy the weight of this world might feel, there's an improvisational spirit within and among us that still allows us to choose to hold things differently. Improvisation invites us to boldly and intentionally and consciously enter those unscripted moments of our life. Improvisation invites us into those edges where playfulness and being on the edge of the unknown seems to be the most honest and healthy response there can be. It was the Spanish poet Antonio Machado who wrote these verses that I recall often these days. Walker, your footsteps are the road and nothing more. Walker, there is no road. The road is made by walking. Keri and I first started talking about doing a service focusing on improvisation months ago, right? Little did we know that what would be happening in our world at the time we eventually scheduled this for a Sunday in March 2025. Actually, it feels like just the topic that we need at a time when we've been trying to make sense of some dramatic events in our world. It feels like just the topic to bring us some lightness, some play, and to try on some new ways of being. Now, I have been inspired in my life by those who approach life with enthusiasm, creativity, and a courageous playfulness. I recognize that some of us may feel that because of our age, because of our temperament, or because of our circumstances, or because we're too close to our expiration date, that improvisation or playfulness can't really fit into our lives. We might claim that we are too set in our ways. Well, let me tell you about my friend Sam Keen. I had the good fortune to attend some workshops with Sam Keen, and he shared this story with us while he was in his early 70s. Take a note. 2 days before his 62nd birthday, he enrolled in a training program at San Francisco School of Circus Arts. He learned to fly on the trapeze. He shares the story in his book, Learning to Fly, Trapeze Reflections on Fear, Trust, and the Joy of Letting Go. He declares in the book, thus far, I've been a man of gravity, serious, strong, rigid, taut, heavy, and earthbound. It's time for levity, for lightness, and for soaring. He goes on to write, a great trapeze act is a kind of performance art, like a Navajo sand painting. It shows you something of exquisite beauty, perfect form that lasts only for an instant and then is gone. Trapeze is a physical mode of where every day I have to face fear, limits, trust, and the exhilarating feeling of living on the edge. Living at the edge and taking risks and trying new things. So let me just say that nothing that Keri and I will invite you into today even approaches the kind of risk-taking and trusting of the trapeze act. So that being said, let's invite ourselves to living at the edge, taking risks, trying on some new things through some simple improvisation practices today, okay? So, Keri, as I turn now over to you, could you begin by telling us what lured you towards improvisation and what you've discovered along the way?
Thank you, Larry. First, let's quickly define what we're talking about when we say improvisation. Improvisational theater is very different than stand-up comedy. Sometimes the two are confused. In stand-up comedy, an individual comedian performs a rehearsed monologue of jokes intended specifically to elicit laughter and amusement. Improvisational theater, on the other hand, is a completely unscripted performance by a group of two or more players who together create spontaneous scenes, which could be comedic or dramatic, that are based on suggestions provided by the audience just a few moments before the performance begins. Similar to improvisation in jazz music or trapeze, improv theater exists only in the moment. It is different every time and cannot be repeated. Hopefully that makes sense. So, to answer your question, in a former life, some 20 plus years ago, I was living and working in Los Angeles, and my friend Lisa invited me to see her perform in an improvisational theater show. That particular show that I saw was a unique style. It was very different from the Whose Line Is It Anyway style of short-form improv that many of you have seen on TV. It was a show based on monologue storytelling, in which each player gave a 10-minute improvised monologue based on a suggestion that the audience provided at the start of the show. I watched, mesmerized, terrified, but mesmerized not only by the entertaining and very emotionally rich stories that were shared, but also by the uninhibited bravery each player exhibited as they took the microphone and delivered their impromptu narrative. I was so moved that evening that I was inspired to find out if I could do it myself. A short backstory here. As a kid, I enjoyed theater, and I was comfortable being on stage, whether dancing in a dance recital or giving a commencement speech during my high school graduation. Yet, at some time during my years in college, I developed a voice tremor that would emerge each time I would have to give an oral presentation. The tremor would be so pronounced at times that I would turn very red from embarrassment. Despite attempts to pre-compose my presentations, rehearse them, or even read aloud text that was prepared for me by others, the tremor continued to manifest, and I grew to hate public speaking. So fast forward to my friend's improv show. Lisa succeeded in enticing me to enroll in an 8-week level 1 improvisation class, where she assured me that I would have a blast because level 1 is all about playing games. There's no audience, just a bunch of people having fun together. And she was right. Our class spent 3 hours a week together, acting like farmyard animals, practicing gibberish, and playing make-believe, just like I did with my friends down the street and at theater camp when I was 9 years old. The naturalness of the play, which had gone dormant during adolescence and early adulthood, was reemerging. It was a deliciously refreshing antidote to the 9-to-5, productivity-based working world that I entered after graduate school. I felt rejuvenated after each class, and my creative neurons were awake and thirsty for whatever crazy activity we would do next week. Does this sound enticing? Yes. Want to give it a try? All right, here's a game called Zip, Zap, Zup, which is a passing of a pattern. So the only words to this game are zip, zap, zup, in that order. And we will repeat them over and over. So what's going to happen is I will start by passing the first word, zip, to a player. Let's say Reverend Larry. He'll respond by passing the next word, zap, back to me.
Okay.
And then it'll be my turn to pass the final word, zup, to another player. So let's just have a back and forth to practice. Dan, you might want to join as well. You may. Zip.
Zap.
Zup.
Zip.
Zap.
Zup.
Zip.
Zip. Zap.
Zap.
Perfect. You get the hang of it? Okay, that was beautiful. You notice it got faster and faster the more that we caught on to the pattern. Do you have anything to add to that, Larry?
No. Great.
All right, I'll continue. So my level 1 improvisation class consisted of 8 students of varying ages and from varying backgrounds. One classmate was an animator at Disney, another a stay-at-home dad who was also an aspiring stand-up comedian. There was a construction manager from Georgia, an occupational therapist from Washington State, a screenwriter, a few actors, and me, a quiet architect from Pennsylvania Amish country. We had so much fun together in the level 1 class that no one wanted to quit when it was over. So, during the subsequent levels 2, 3, and 4 classes, FYI, the improv world operates kind of like a pyramid scheme. Once you get in, you can't get out. We continued to laugh, cry, surprise, torment, explore, and create together. Despite our very different backgrounds and daytime lives, this collaboration was possible because we were being trained through improvisation techniques to listen to each other and trust that our ideas would be accepted and advanced through a process called yes and. Yes and refers to the way in which we respond to our scene partner's offer, whether that offer be a statement that's verbalized, an emotion expressed on their face, or an activity that they are miming with their hands and body. When our scene partner makes an offer, we yes it by agreeing that their offer is an idea we will play with. The and is our way of using that initial offer as a spring point for raising the stakes of the idea or the game that we have agreed to play with. Here's an example. If I say to Reverend Larry, "You sure know how to cut a rug, Uncle Gerald," then Reverend Larry might say yes by responding in a way that acknowledges that he is an experienced dancer and that he is playing the role of my uncle in our scene. Then he might add a new detail to build on the idea. Let's see how he does.
Oh gosh, okay, let's try.
"You sure know how to cut a rug, Uncle Gerald."
Yes, and you've only seen me dance in church.
Yes. And you're going to get a spotlight at my wedding.
Yes, and I love to dance. Once I start dancing, I can't stop.
You see how it goes. Back and forth, we could keep climbing the ladder of the yes-anding. So here's an exercise for us in giving and receiving offers. This is called sound ball. So we're going to toss around an imaginary ball made of sounds. There are no wrong sounds. There are no wrong balls. Whatever comes out of your mouth is correct. So this is how it'll work. I'm going to example with Larry.
Why do I always get chosen first? All right, go ahead.
But Dan can play too.
Okay, great.
So I'm going to toss to Reverend Larry about a sound ball with a random sound that I will make. He's going to receive the ball by holding it or miming it in his hands, looking me in the eye, and repeating the sound that I gave him with the ball. Then he is going to pass a new sound ball to Dan with his own sound, and Dan will receive it by repeating that sound. So,
Blah.
Blah.
So we've given ourselves 3 different balls. We've accepted the offers, and then we've created a new ball to give to our next player. Does anyone want to share what that felt like? It was fun? Fantastic. That's the whole point. Yeah.
So, as Unitarian Universalists, we endeavor to engage in the religious in such a way that it is, at its heart, is improvisational. Is this on? Yeah. Okay. Rather than indoctrinate, we invite each person to a place of creative imagination in matters of religion. Our UU religious educator, Sophia Lan-Faz, stated it this way in her familiar piece, "It matters what we believe." Some beliefs are like walled gardens. They encourage exclusiveness and the feeling of being especially privileged. Other beliefs are expansive and lead the way into wider and deeper sympathies. Such an approach to the religious provides relief to those who may be fleeing from a religious past of so much indoctrination that they felt constrained, not knowing what to trust, or even how to trust their own real experiences and honest questions. However, such a creative approach to religion can also feel scary as an empty stage might feel to an improviser. Over time, we try to hone our capacities as Unitarian Universalists to practice this creative approach to religion. And it's much like improvisation, much like what you just did with the sound ball. We open ourselves to receive from all that is our life and from one another, who may have a different perspective, a different sound, and have different experiences than our own. And then we seek to ground ourselves in meanings and perspectives that will keep us open, curious, and receptive to what is holy, what the holy is doing within life. Whatever we receive from life, whatever we receive from another person, we shift it and change it as we process within, and we transform it in our way of being and living in the world. We give our own sound back. Our process of creative religion making reminds me of a song that we often sing in new member welcoming here. From you I receive, to thee I give, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. Well, that leads us into the next perspective and experience you have for us, Keri.
So after almost a year of weekly improv classes together, my adult-aged playmates and I reached the final level of the conservatory theater program, in which we would be asked to perform in front of an audience every Friday night for 6 months. Spoiler alert, my voice tremor was not cured. But proceeding with this step was indeed a gut-wrenching decision, but by then our group had developed the kind of team mentality that made us feel very optimistic and confident in our tribe-like naivete. And now I had some skills and an easy rapport with my troop mates, so that I wanted to continue. I wanted to play on stage with them, amuse them, tease them, surprise, disturb, delight, and most of all, support them with playful offerings and creative responses to their offerings. And so we did perform. And that first show was absolutely exhilarating. a complete rush. In sports terms, we crushed it. Every scene and game. I never had so much fun. But as sometimes the case with performances, the adrenaline rush of the first show was not to be recreated. At our next show, and almost every show after that, we flopped. We made mistakes left and right. We lost our train of thought. We forgot to listen to each other. We said, yes, but, or simply no, over and over again. We stopped having so much fun on stage and started blaming each other. Dealing with these so-called mistakes is an integral part of improvisation. It's one of the hardest skills to learn because it's counter to our natural instincts. We fear making mistakes for numerous reasons. It makes us embarrassed. We feel we're being judged as inadequate. We let ourselves and others down, to name a few reasons. So in improv, we practice exercises in justification and commitment, committing to an idea, which entail finding a way to make that odd thing, also known as the mistake, make it make sense, and then committing to it as though it were a gift with new opportunities to explore. At the core of this work is accepting our mistakes, not as things to be ruminated upon, but as fertile ground for transformation and a better outcome, or a more interesting scene in improv terms. So here's an example of a real-life anecdote that was owned up to and ultimately rewarded. A college student majoring in communications applied for an internship at an organization that interested her. The application required taking a 4-hour timed test that included multiple essays. When she hadn't heard back from the organization, she reviewed her test results and realized she had misspelled a word 3 times in her essays. It was the same word, rationale, but instead of rationale with an E at the end, as in the rationale for this source is, she forgot the E at the end, so that the sentence read, the rationale for selecting this source is. Of course, her heart sank at realizing that this small mistake could have cost her the job that she wanted. But because she had some improv training experience, she decided to own her mistake. She wrote to the company, thanking them for the opportunity to apply, and acknowledged that she had made these spelling errors. And she even took that opportunity in her letter to use the word rationale with the E to demonstrate that she did indeed know how to spell the word and use it properly. A few days later, she got the job. And so it is with improv. After years and years of making mistakes on and off stage, and practicing self-flagellation after most of them, I've come to realize that the world doesn't stop turning because I slipped up. On stage, I practice transforming my own or my scene partner's mistakes into gold by agreeing and committing to the new reality with every fiber of my character's being. Even off stage, I see mistakes as a way to learn a lot about myself and others, and as opportunities to forgive myself and others. Thanks to marriage, I'm getting better and better at accepting and owning these shortfalls and forgiving graciously and with compassion. In case you're wondering, my husband is not here today to confirm or deny this statement, so let's just agree to say yes. And I will demonstrate my approach to mistakes right now. This is taken from a game called Circus Bow. Very late last night, I changed the script for today's service and gave Reverend Larry very little time to modify his script accordingly. I'm very sorry. Can I get a round of applause, please? Larry, would you like to take a circus bow?
Sure. Well, I made the commitment during Lent to not shop on Amazon. Last night, automatically, I turned to watch the next episode in the series, RuPaul's Drag Race, because we're right in the middle, and that is an Amazon product. Amazon Prime. Can I get it?
Yes.
A little more applause, please.
Take your bow.
All right. I'll take a bow.
Dan, do you have any mistakes that you'd like to pronounce to the congregation?
I had too much caffeine and too little food today, so if I might be distracting and jittery behind these people.
Is there anyone else who would like to stand up and state one mistake you made this morning or this weekend? And the rest of us will give you a round of applause. Yes.
The night before last, I was too lazy to walk my little neck pillow back over to where I had it, so I tossed it across the room, knocking a glass off the table and shattering it in a million pieces.
So, underlying all that we've shared today with you is keeping alive within us, no matter our age or our customary excuse, a playful, creative, judgment-free attitude within life and within religion. This is our human vocation, to co-create the world rather than just adapt to it, to improvise with what comes our way. I like the wisdom in this quote attributed to Viktor Frankl: between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. In our response, he concludes, is our growth and our freedom. So, as part of a community that is creating an island of sanity, there are some insights and perspectives and practices with improvisation that I think can serve us well. Let us hold that space between stimulus and response as a holy space within us and among us. And now I want to teach just one quick thing. This is called the Great Reset Button, Great Cosmic Reset Button. Are you ready to learn it?
Yes.
Okay, so imagine right in front of you is a button, like a reset button. Take your hands like this, and on the count of 3, very slowly move towards pushing that reset button, and notice what happens when you press the Great Cosmic Reset Button. 1, 2, 3. Do you feel it? Yeah. It's available to us at all times. Let's try it one more time. 1, 2, 3. So, we have a way to choose our responses and to make available at any moment a time to reset.